Warm greetings to all of you, cherished viewers. Parashat Vayikra starts the third of the 5 books of the Torah, and here it starts speaking about the Korban Minha, saying, "Any mincha offering that you offer to Hashem shall not be made with hametz, for you shall not burn any sourdough or any honey as a fire offering to Hashem." In other words, both hametz and sourdough, which are used to ferment dough so it puffs up and rises, and honey, are strictly forbidden from being offered upon the altar as a minha offering, and therefore must not be used. The question then arises, what makes hametz, sourdough, and honey so particularly different that they are deemed unfit to be offered on the altar and presented in the Beit HaMikdash? First, there's an explanation suggesting that hametz and sourdough, due to their function of fermenting and causing dough to rise and expand, this brings to mind the association of an individual who inflates himself, becoming overly proud, someone who keeps elevating himself at the expense of others. About that, we know that Hashem detests all the proud of heart. An arrogant person is detested not only by society but also by Hashem. Specifically, Hashem cannot be next to him. Therefore, such a person is not worthy of entering the Beit HaMikdash. What about honey? What is its deficiency? It possesses a specific characteristic, an excessive sweetness. This characteristic symbolizes those individuals who have gone overboard, indulging too much in life's pleasures. Everyone loves treats, loves to unwind a bit, by going to a hotel, enjoying the view of natural paradises, as Hashem created them for us to enjoy our life. But we shouldn't excessively indulge in life's pleasures. And the excessive sweetness of honey evokes in us some thoughts of overindulgence in life's pleasures. Such a phenomenon, which is a negative trait, cannot be brought to the Beit HaMikdash and not sacrificed on the altar. Therefore, any hametz symbolizing pride, and similarly sourdough, as well as the honey representing life's excessive pleasures, they can't be offered on the altar. But another question arises. Honey adds flavor and sweetens everything it gets in contact with, while salt also provides flavor to every single dish. So look at this interesting detail. Honey is disqualified. You cannot offer it. Conversely, salt is qualified. It's a command, even a duty, to bring it with every offering. As the Torah says, with all your offerings, you shall offer salt. So salt is a required component for all sacrifices. So salt, which gives flavor to a dish, is a required commandment to bring. But honey is not. They both add flavor. What's the difference? Honey possesses a distinct quality, and salt, conversely, has an entirely different one. Honey is so incredibly sweet that anything that enters or falls into it will be influenced by the honey's sweetness, which is so strong that whatever goes into it also becomes honey. Therefore, if, for instance, a fly's wing or a cockroach's leg were to fall into the honey, that honey would still be considered permissible for consumption. But you might say, there's an unclean thing inside it. So honey possesses such a potent ability to sweeten everything that whatever enters it becomes honey itself. Thus, if something inherently forbidden to eat falls in it, after some time it transforms into honey and becomes permissible for consumption. What do we see from here? A very intriguing aspect. Honey possesses a characteristic of not accommodating others. So if you were to emulate me, then you can be deemed worthy of consumption. But if you're not like me, you have no business being within my 4 amot. Because whatever enters the honey, it demands to become like it. Be like me. And this exemplifies a person who is unwilling to accept the opinions of others, and who wants everyone to think like them, or become similar to their personality, that is not characteristic of a sacrifice. That is the quality of honey. It is unwilling to humble itself for others. It wants others to change themselves. Similarly, salt also adds flavor. It gives flavor to every dish, but it completely blends into the dish, because it completely dissolves into the dish. For example, when you add salt to soup or a dish, you don't actually see the salt. It adds flavor, but it blends and disappears. It doesn't preserve its solid appearance. Similar to a personality who's willing to nullify itself for others, and is prepared to embrace others, that kind of soul is worthy of being offered. Therefore, with all your offerings you shall offer salt. Honey, however, is not worthy of being offered. Perhaps this can be conveyed more clearly through a story that vividly illustrates the fundamental difference between the nature of salt and honey. Let me tell you a story about an athlete whose ultimate lifelong ambition and dream was to finally reach the peak of Mount Everest. Mount Everest is a very tough mountain to climb, and many have perished on their journey. It presents many obstacles, many hardships, the cold, and stands very erect, making it exceedingly difficult to climb and reach the summit. This man, he set it as his life's ultimate goal, and he trained, he ascended, he fell, and he was even hospitalized. Then, after recovery, he said, "I must fulfill my dream," until finally, enduring all the hardships, he triumphantly reached the summit of Mount Everest. And he stood up proudly saying, "Wow, there's no hero quite like me. What a view that no one else can see. Only I managed to get up here, with all the hardships and everything I went through. The important thing is that I've achieved my goal, and no one can even come close to me in terms of heroism, endurance through hardship, and sheer stubbornness. And here I am, reveling in the stunning view and the beautiful, refreshing, crisp air." And as he's turning around up there on the summit of Mount Everest, he suddenly sees a little 5-year-old boy sitting on a rock, ice all around him from the cold. He approaches him and asks, "How did you get here? How did you climb so high? Do you know how many years I've trained to get here, and you, at 5 years old, already reached the summit before me?" The boy says, "No, I didn't climb. I was just born here. My parents gave birth to me here, and I reside here, so I feel perfectly entitled to enjoy a sandwich, perch on this rock, and fully take in the amazing summit, air of Mount Everest." This precisely encapsulates the fundamental distinction between honey and salt. The boy symbolizes salt, which is self-effacing. My talents are known to me, but the strength given to me is a divine gift from Hashem. This is the salt. It represents one who understands that Hashem runs the world, guiding all my skills. Rather, honey, which is unwilling to yield and instead makes others yield to it, represents that arrogant person who tried several times to climb Mount Everest and feels that when he finally achieved his goal, there's no one like him in the whole world, and everyone else is insignificant and worth zero. One who symbolizes honey is unworthy of sacrifice, but salt, willing to be humble and recognizing who he is in front of Hashem, that is the one who illuminates its path, is worthy. It is even a positive commandment to bring salt with every sacrifice. Shabbat Shalom.